St. John's gets a much needed 63-58 win in the Garden against Ole Miss. Subi, we don't need to mince words in this one. This was an ugly, slug it out, lunch pail rock fight, whatever you want to call it. And yet I felt like St. John's multiple times was threatening to blow it open. Like it seemed like they were so close to just going ahead 15, 16, 17, like just completely putting the Rebs away. And yet Ole Miss kept fighting. They got some clutch plays down the stretch. St. John's went through a 4-minute field goal drought to end the game. They hang on, get the victory, and ultimately, it's kind of all that matters. But at the same time, both teams shot below 40% from the field. You're not probably not like coming away from this one like, oh, we played a great contest, but at least there still are some positives I think you can take away if you're a St. John's fan. And it's the sky isn't completely falling if you're an Ole Miss fan as well. But I wanted to get your takes on this one. What most stuck out to you from this game in terms of what you learned about these teams?
Certainly some pros and cons for sure. So what I learned about St. John's, and I know in the preview we joked a lot and like, why do we love this team? They drive us insane. But in all sincerity, what I think we learned a little bit about St. John's is with respect to their ability to win ugly.
Mm-hmm.
And they beat a well-coached team. I don't think Ole Miss is that good of a team just in general, but this is a game where the Johnnies, who were so used to their high-powered offense, won by scoring 63 points. Now, credit their defense. You can maybe credit Ole Miss's ineptitude, but it was a nasty display of shooting, especially from beyond the arc. I think 6 combined threes were made amongst these teams. So you say to yourself, and look, this is emblematic of a Rick Pitino team, right? Can you get it out of the mud?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they can, right? Like, and this is a power team. It's not like against some no-name team, but I think we need to see it a little bit more. But I think you can start to learn that a little bit about that with the Johnnies. I don't know if I necessarily learned a ton about Chris Beard and Ole Miss,
Yeah.
but I will give them credit. Holding St. John's on the road to 63 points is awesome. Like that is very commendable. But it's not shocking to me. So I don't know if I necessarily learned anything because Chris Beard game plans with the best of them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like I think it's nothing really to I did a preview and a recap for Houston, Florida State, and it was one of those rare games where you're like, you know what, thumbs up for everyone involved. I don't know if you necessarily say that with St. John's, but they won. Ole Miss, not there's building blocks there, but yeah, I mean, I think those are the two biggest takeaways for me from each side, aside from the fact that they owe the entire country an apology for their 3-point shooting display.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was ugly. A lot of bricks. I will say though, for St. John's, look, basketball is about making shots, as Carter Elliott says. It's about putting the round orange thing in the 10-foot thing. So take this for what it's worth. I didn't think St. John's took especially poor shots, especially from beyond the arc. It felt like they were in rhythm. It felt like they shared the ball well. They just bricked them. They got good looks. I would even say someone like Ian Jackson. We might have mentioned this in the preview, but I know some of the John's fans in our Sleepers Discord have been really critical of him. There's one in particular, my guy Isaiah, who's like, "Yo, take him back. Hubert knew something. We should have never recruited him." Like as I was watching this game unfold, I'm like, Ian Jackson's really playing within himself. He's sharing the ball. He's not forcing things. He's not over dribbling. And then you look at the box score. He shot 2 for 11. So it's like, okay, maybe play outside of yourself a little bit, Ian. Maybe make some shots in this one. But as a whole, I wouldn't necessarily say they like forced the issue there. It didn't seem like him or Sannon or some of this guard group, which has been portrayed as erratic and has definitely had stretches of erratic play, like pressed too much or anything or was out of line. I just think they got some good looks, missed them, and then in terms of like the paint presence, I mean, Ole Miss is physical down there.
Mhm.
Malik Dia, I think he sat the first 11 minutes of this game. I would guess it was some sort of disciplinary issues from effort, and that even goes back to that Chris Beard press conference with AJ Store where he said we can play different players. Whatever Beard did, it seemingly lit a fire underneath him because Dia was awesome when he came in off the bench. I thought between him and James Scott, they were so good at mucking it up. I mean, St. John's 24 points in the paint. That's well below their season average. Like, I thought those dudes were super physical, and then the Johnnies just couldn't hit from beyond the arc.
Yeah, there are two guys that actually don't need to apologize, and that is Malik Dia for Ole Miss, and honestly Zuby Ejiofor too. That was a great big man duel that
Mm-hmm.
we saw. I thought it was back and forth. Zuby finished with 15 and 9. You mentioned Dia with a double double. despite not playing the first 11 minutes, right? Like he made some quick work. So I was appreciative of the big man battle for sure. But Riley, like when I look at a game like this, an ugly game, grinded out game that was a 5 point difference, I really start to look at the margins and
Hmm.
see maybe not like the smallest deltas, but like small areas with big deltas, right? So if we look at second chance points, Johnny's had 18 of those, right? That might do it in a
Hmm.
game like this. It was 8 more than Ole Miss, right? They outscored him by 8 on second chance points. All right. So you take that into consideration. Ole Miss, I don't think really got back on transition in some moments, right? They gave up 13 fast break points. That might be splitting hairs, but you might want to look at that if you lose a game by 5. And then I think one of the biggest ones, the Johnnies did a great job converting off of the turnovers that they created against Ole Miss, or they did a better job than Ole Miss, right? I think they had 20 points off of
20
turnovers.
turnovers. Yeah.
Yeah, 20 points off of 20 turnovers, right? So I don't know, like those are small things that you look at, but bigger advantages, I think, for the Johnnies, and that yields a 5 point victory. And so I think if I were to be a optimist for Ole Miss, right? You fix those just a little bit, and you have a chance to beat a super talented team, maybe a team that's being overrated, possibly, but you're close to beating a ranked team if
Hmm.
you're Ole Miss.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. And whether you're looking at, I mean, even to your point on the turnovers, that first half, I thought when St. John's was pressuring, like you had all those guards were committed to pressuring the length of the court, to traps, to forcing turnovers, to getting runouts. And I think like when you have Dylan Mitchell, who's there to kind of finish those plays and rise above the rim and just have those active hands that create so much chaos, like that's such an asset. And I continue to think he's a perfect fit for this team. But that
Mhm.
first half was like maybe the first time this season where I felt like I was watching a St. John's defense against a power conference opponent. I was like, oh, this is how this team plays. This is what they do. This is where their bread is buttered. And I think that further underlines what you said about, they can win in the mud. But even beyond that, like turning it back on Ole Miss, the guard play was just really erratic. I think Ilias Kamardine, like he's pretty consistent. You know what you're going to get from him night in, night out. But just beyond that, you look up and down the roster. I mean, AJ Store, 2 points in just 15 minutes. I thought he was bad and really struggled in this one.
Dude, after we sung his praises too
Yeah, he
in
was
the
awful.
preview.
0 for 6, just invisible. Like there's large stretches of this game where I forgot he existed, and then it checks out because he was 15 minutes in this one with a minus 10. Patton Pinkins, who got a shout out, did nothing. Keza Jiffa, I always forget how it's pronounced. They said it.
I said GIF, I think, in the preview.
I want to say they said Jiffa on the broadcast.
I mean, so this is just a GIF
Yeah, this
thing
is a
to discuss on.
this.
We've
Yes,
had this discussion
I
as a
am.
society.
I've always been pro GIF over pro GIF.
Me too.
I think I still hear people call it GIF. GIF sounds so dumb. It's definitely
Yeah.
GIF.
It's peanut
But
butter.
I feel like yeah, right. I feel like I need to stick true to the brand and say GIFA, even though I'm pretty sure it's Jiffa. Giffa, Keza. I
It's
like,
late on Sunday.
I didn't really think Keza was a high major player when he committed to Ole Miss. And I watched a handful of High Point games last year. I thought they were kind of the consensus like the mid-major team. So maybe that's on me as a bad scout, but like he's broken my expectations for what I thought he would be at Ole Miss. I think he is a valuable player for them. But you just like your team has a limited ceiling when he's your second option in the backcourt. And I just think you can't have these no shows from AJ Store and think you're going to go anywhere in a ranked matchup, and much less when you get into SEC play where it's a dogfight night in night out. And I still like the build of this Ole Miss team to where I think Comardine can like truly become a borderline superstar when it's all said and done. Superstar, let's say he can be a star. I'll put it that way. He
Mm-hmm.
can definitely be a star in that league. And I think Dia was awesome for Ole Miss down the stretch last season, and it's built on that. I think Scott will give you some shot blocking. Again, only played 9 minutes in this one, but like, there's just too many question marks on this roster. There's too many question marks to buy them as like a surefire tournament team. I think there's a chance they get there, but Yeah, this it felt like a missed opportunity just with some of these question marks.
Yeah, missed opportunity is a great way of putting it for Ole Miss. On the flip side, you almost say, okay, if you're the Johnnies, we escaped this game. We're about to head into. I mean, they got Iona next, which, I mean, funny revenge game, I suppose, if you, from whatever perspective you want to see it at. But they're about to enter Big East play, right? And so, if you're the Johnnies, it's been a bit of a turbulent ride with respect or relative to how you started the season, ranked, and all these expectations. Sure, but man, like it is very walk with me here, Riley. They got Iona next. Then after that, they got DePaul. Then they got a Kentucky team that's positively spiraling. Then they got Harvard. Then they got Georgetown. Then they got Providence. Then they got Butler. Then they got Creighton, who I do think will turn it around, but they're not looking so hot right now. They got Marquette, who we went in on. Nova, first, Kevin Willard's first year. Seton Hall's proven to be tough, but that Seton Hall, I just went through a litany of teams. Seton Hall comes on January 20th. Man, it would not shock me if St. John's goes on a rip
Hmm.
right here. Like this could be a spot where Rick Pitino looks at the schedule, licks his chops, especially that Kentucky game, right, and says, "Let's springboard right now." And there's a possibility that they're back in the top 7, top 10, maybe late January.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm looking at that, and I don't really know how many of these teams will challenge them. I mean, maybe feels like such a stretch to say Kentucky's going to get right. I don't buy the talent of that team. I think there's crazy off-court issues. Maybe they could stumble at Georgetown. Georgetown has some hoopers, but
Possibly.
we just saw Butler choke away a win at Boise State. I don't like Boise State. I think they play it.
They lost to like a D2 team, didn't they?
Yeah, right. And they just play a terrible brand of basketball. I was starting to believe that Butler was back with Creighton. So to your point on Creighton, they were 9-5 to start the year last year. 2 years ago in 2023, when they made the Elite Eight, they started 6-6. So this is kind of what they do. They stumble out of the gates and then put it all together. I feel like they're missing the ceiling raisers though. Like there's
It's
no Ryan
possible.
Kalkbrenner there.
Yeah,
Owen Freeman has been atrocious for expectations and salary. Like you factor both those in, he has been so far away from hitting the mark to where I don't see them posing much of a threat. Like there's not too many losses that you can find on the schedule before even Seton Hall. They play them at home. Like you're like you fast forward all the way to February 6th when they get UConn at home.
UConn.
Like that could be the next time we see St. John's really challenged.
Yep.
And even beyond that, we were talking some about this team's identity, and maybe that's a little overblown because they showed in this one that they can have multiple personalities, if you will. They can get back to their roots and force turnovers. I still would like to see a little more out of Bryce Hopkins if you want to go back to the identity. I thought he was
I do
awesome.
too, man.
He was awesome for like a 3 minute stretch. From like 12 minutes to 9 minutes in the second half, he took over, had some great defensive possessions, gained extra possessions on the other end on the offensive glass, made some big shots, hit his free throws, but then sort of disappeared again. And
Motor's always kind of been a bugaboo.
yeah, yeah. Like
I
if
didn't mean to
they
cut you off. I'm sorry.
no,
Just
no, that I kind of finished my thought was like if they can get that version of Bryce Hopkins for 25 to 30 minutes a night, then the sky is the limit for this team because again, I think it's crazy to say this on a night where Ian Jackson shot 2 for 11, Joseph Sannon was 1 for 3, Dylan Darling was 1 for 5, and Isaiah Sellers was 2 for 8. Like that is a combined. Gosh, I'm not okay. Let's see if I can do the math on the fly here. 6, 11, 14, 16. That's a combined 3 for 16 from three between that quartet. But I
that was ugly.
Stay with me. They're like kind of coming into their own a little bit. I think the recipe is to let Zuby and Bryce rock and just like knock down your threes and attack closeouts and try not to do too much. But in order for that to hit its ceiling, you need the locked in Bryce for the whole game, not just these sort of isolated stretches.
I totally agree. I think that's fair. And if they want to get to where the expectations are, where they want to go, because make no mistake, St. John's, like you should not be running from the lights. I'm going to hold you accountable because you were getting a lot of gas coming into
Hmm.
this season, started top 5, right? And it almost feels as if people have forgotten about you just because of how awesome multiple teams look, right? Like the discussion and the conversation of the past week and a half now has been like, is Michigan the best team in the country? Is Purdue the
Right.
best team in the country? Arizona deserves to be number 1 in the country. But then you also got like Duke, who's looking great, right? Like we've kind of forgotten that we expected St. John's to be somewhere in that mix, and they just haven't, right? Like they have fell off. But I'm going to hold them accountable. You cannot run from this, man, because the lights were bright entering this season, and you have yet to reach that expectation. But there's still tons of opportunity ahead. Like I had rattled off that schedule. I'm telling you, I actually am pretty confident that they're going to go on a bit of a winning streak here.